Fifth time. Welcome back to the shop, everybody. I'm Chad. This is Carter Engineering and Fabrication, bringing you guys along every week. Every week I have more and more people viewing my videos, which is awesome. So welcome, and let's get into what happened this week. Alright, so my biggest gripe with the Langmuir MR1 so far is definitely chip control and the coolant system, which I guess is two things, but I'm going to try and correct one of those today. I did spend a lot of thought, in the assembly process, adding the chip conveyor and at least provisions for that, but ultimately the two front drain points are constantly getting clogged, and I upgraded all of the tubing on the coolant system from the pump to the nozzle, so now I can actually, fill the bathtub faster than it can drain, and then I get coolant everywhere. So this is me I ordered a 2-inch auger and just punched 2 holes straight through the epoxy and then down, through the concrete and the steel bottom. Ultimately gluing in ABS pipe and putting a strainer, like a food strainer, under it, so the little bit of chips that go down it'll be easy to empty out. I'll show that in a little more clarity in just a moment, but yeah, here I am just starting the drilling process, and pretty slow going through about 4.5 inches of concrete, and it's a $30 bit, but I figured that's a consumable price. If it gets me my 2 holes, then I'm happy. It was a dusty mess, and I didn't realize until the end that I needed to replace the filter on the vacuum. So this was fun, but just sped up a little bit here, about 20 times, so we can watch me struggle through it. But switching from hole to hole and vacuuming out in between. It is going through the drain fittings, so you start to see the dust weeping through there. Diamond bit doesn't care that much, it just keeps cutting, but I'll show the remaining items, the stuff that came out of the cord holes in just a moment. And we're through. And new camera position, and here I am just getting everything vacuumed out, cleaned out, and here's what came out of the hole. Skipping forward a little bit, this is the top plate for the coolant tank. I drilled a pilot hole, and then I lost the video, unfortunately, of me cutting out with a jigsaw the hole in that guy. So skipping ahead a little bit, here I am cutting the ABS to length. Just kind of a joggle that comes out of the bottom of the Langmuir over and then down into the coolant tank. Nothing super exciting here. It's quick deburring, test fit, come back and update the measurements, cut some more pieces. Cut. Doing a quick dry fit here just to make sure that everything fits the way I want it to. And then back over to the workbench. I have this silicone mat left over from the kids, not destroying our kitchen table. It was a placemat, but now it makes a really nice, messy work surface because nothing really sticks to it. So here I am gluing up the ABS pieces, trying to keep them nice and flat, and then back over at the machine. Got Fernco couplings just to make it easy to take them out when I need to get under the machine to work on the coolant system. And then there you see the colander and on the top of the coolant tank. So here it is running. That's full coolant flow. The corner drains are now no longer functional. And then here's the 2 center outlets. I'm going to put a grill or something over them just so I don't drop big items down them, but I figure chips and things will collect. You see it's starting to fill up. I have ample amounts of coolant flow, and at some point here I'm going to pan down to, that's a 1/2 inch coolant nozzle. There I am turning the chip auger on, and lots of coolant coming out. Stop with the shaky. There we go. And here's just a quick shot of the chip auger feeding into the bucket. So this is a fun one. This is a retractable 220 volt cord reel that I saved from a dumpster a while ago, years ago I think at this point. But I very much dislike tripping over cords, and I'm constantly dragging a 220 volt cord around for the welders. So this is getting installed today just to keep things safe, and the easier you make it to put things away neatly, the better things are going to be. So this didn't have a cord on it or a whip. It was just the remainder of the reel. I think it was used for charging forklifts. I did look up the amp rating on it, and it's a little less than the welders, but I'm usually running like pretty low power settings on most of the stuff I'm doing, and if I need to, turn the machines up pretty high, then I'll just plug into the wall or one of the dedicated cords. So I'm not overly concerned. I'm sure the contacts would get angry, but I don't weld that much or that long. So anyway, here I am hooking up the connectors on the V4 extension cord. I'll spare you guys me doing this twice because I forgot to run it through the rollers, the fair lead. So through the miracle of editing, you only have to watch it once, and then there's me dropping it on the ground. Oops. Thankfully didn't hurt it, but pre-drilled the wall, and then lagging this guy in place, and then the short whip plugs in, and that is just lovely. So while we're on the business of upgrades, my Nightpex parallel jaw pliers, those things are awesome. If you don't have a set, I find myself reaching for them more and more. Terrible camera positioning this week. Here I am using my hydraulic knockout press, and it's just out of frame, which is wonderful. But what I'm doing here is prepping 2 receptacles to go on the back of the welder cart to be able to plug the MIG and TIG in all the time, and then just I'm never going to run both of them, but I saw another YouTube video recently, I think it was Spicer Designs, where he had both welders plugged in this kind of arrangement. And I do find myself switching back and forth depending on what I'm doing. So if you can eliminate a step, and then this also let me put a longer cord on the cart. So hopefully there's more cases where I don't have to use the extension cord at all. So a little bit more shaky cam. Here I am just walking around the welders, verifying both of them powered on correctly. No issues. Zip tied the wires up nicely out of the way, and then there's the medium length cord and the extension cord. So my major goal this week was to finish the Camaro rear axle assembly and have that ready to go. I believe at this point the customer is going to install it on his own, which is great. So as soon as he can get that picked up. But here I am finishing out the last of the brake brackets for both the Camaro Brembo brakes, the Tesla parking brakes. Those are the machined hats, and then the laser cut pieces. Just doing some tapping, and then here pulled out my little portable router table, rounding over the edges with an 1/8 inch round over. And then, WD-40 for lube, doing conventional direction, and then like a spring pass in the climb direction. It really seems to take away any of the buildup of material and leaves a pretty decent finish. Touching it up one more time with the DA sander, and they're ready to go onto the unit. So here we are pulling off the 3D printed mock-up pieces, getting the axles popped out, and I did have to go in and chase the threaded holes with a bottoming tap. That finally came in. Just get those cleaned up, and here we are with the brake brackets being installed for the final time. Axles back in, center pin in. I did verify backlash like I talked about in the previous video. So hopefully the axles won't have to come back out again. Getting the brackets installed, all the bolts in. And there's the Tesla parking calipers. So I'll leave it up to the customer if he wants to send the brackets out to have anodized or powder coated, or just leave them raw. They'd be perfectly fine as is. Just going through and getting all the bolts installed. Pretty drama free. Everything lined up really nicely. Got the latest Bolt Depot order in of flange bolts, socket cap screws, bolts for the cover. I've got the cover setting on with new gaskets. So another, the third shaky cam of the day, but here we are just giving it a once over, and this thing's ready to go home. This is just for fun. I just happen to have the camera still rolling. So this is me power sweeping towards the end of the day just to keep the shop looking nice and tidy. And this is just a quick one, recapping the BOP sign from last week. I found my pencil sketch from my notebook. These things live in my brain, and it's cool to see the reality. So here we're looking at a windshield wiper motor for a 3rd gen Camaro. They're pretty big and clunky. A lot of people have clearance issues when it comes to like LS coil packs, or I think the valve cover runs into them depending on how, motor placement. So just pulling this up as an example, a lot of people have recommended a Nissan Altima or Nissan Frontier windshield wiper motor, and I bought one like this. I can't find my exact receipt, but I think it's a pretty standard motor arrangement, and then they just make adapter plates per application. They don't make one for a 3rd gen Camaro, but easy enough to measure the bolt pattern, which is what I did, and then added in the offset to create a no drill scenario where you're, a no cut, no drill install. You do lose park, but it's still a 2-speed. In my mind, it's a pretty reasonable compromise for a low cost wiper solution. So here's the file that I'm going to make available in my Google Drive. I did go back in and add bend reliefs, so you could bend this in a typical bench vise, make that part a little easier. But it's a pretty low cost deal when you get a couple of these laser cut. Not sponsored by any prominent laser cutting houses or anything. I'm also going to make available some of the other files, which I'll switch to in just a moment. I recorded this in one go, but the microphone settings got wonky on me. So yeah, here's the under battery plate on the right, which would be the passenger side. The battery in this car is relocated to the trunk, and the driver's side, the radiator support area was cut out to include these like Z28 style flares, or like same things they have on like the hood extractor. So keeping that theme going. I did use 1/4-inch PEM studs. Pressed in. You could buy those, or you could obviously use rivets, nuts and bolts, whatever. And then I incorporated the oil catch can mount on the passenger side as well. All right, so all told, pretty great week. I've got to get back on some of the bigger projects. I'm getting distracted with a lot of the shop improvement type stuff, but these are good things to knock out while it's cold, and I can make use of the heated shop. So next week I hope to get back on the Bonneville, and then maybe get a little bit of work done on the Buick as well, if I can get the frame in on the frame table. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.